Welcome back to the Informal Game. My name's Griff. I'm the host of the show, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about things you can do if you're a new dungeon master. Dungeon mastering is one of those things that people think is really hard, and I'm going to tell you that it's actually not that hard. I think that it's one of the easiest things, and once you get the knack of it, you probably will have a hard time becoming a player again, because dungeon mastering is incredibly fun. You get to know all the... You make things, and you know all the secrets, and your players show up, and they don't know what's going on, and you get to just kick back and watch them be just completely befuddled by everything that you've created for them. And then sometimes you get to startle them with things that pop out at them, or who knows what. It's just whatever you can dream up is what becomes the game reality. A new dungeon master is usually terrified. You know, it's for a lot of people that's a really different place to be, because you're in the hot seat and it's up to you to do everything. You've got to keep track of the rules. You've got to, kind of entertain people. It's like you're the host when you're the dungeon master. You're still a player, but you're a different kind of player. And I think a lot of shows have already talked about things to do, what to do if you're a new dungeon master. But I want to talk about something that I don't really see very often, which is the idea of just relaxing when you're a dungeon master. You have all the time in the world when you're the dungeon master. You're in charge. You have all your players' attention, and you can just stop for a minute and think about things. And I'm just going to stop here and think about stuff, and I'm thinking about stuff. But if I'm dungeon mastering a game, what I'm really doing is kind of like, sometimes I'll even close my eyes. The players get to they come down a hallway. I'm running a dungeon adventure, or they're going through the woods. Whatever's going on, my players come somewhere where an encounter of some kind is going to happen, or something significant needs to be role-played. And when I'm talking about role-playing, I'm not talking about the play acting. I'm talking about what the DM's role as a role player is to create reality. They role-play the reality for the players. They describe everything the players encounter. What they see, what they're hearing, what they're smelling, what they're tasting, what they're touching. That's all the DM's job, and that's role-playing. So you get to a situation, let's say you're in a dungeon. The players come to a door, they listen at the door, they do all the stuff that players do to try to figure out what's going on before they go through the door. They finally open the door, and you can look at your map, and you can look at all the information that's written down about the room, and that's kind of boring, actually. But what I do is I just stop and think about what's going on. So I look at the map, and I look at the monsters and stuff, and I'll just close my eyes, and I'll sort of drift off, and I'll say, like, okay, this is what the room is like. You're standing in a doorway, you're in the back section of a 30-foot by 90-foot room, and you can look down the room, and there are pillars in this room. And it's kind of strange because there's like water dripping down, a lot of water. There's water pooling on the ground. In some places you can't even see through the water. And off in the distance, way far off in the distance, you can see something sparkling. Like maybe there are gems encrusted in the walls or something like that. And I just kind of imagine what's there. I see it, and I describe it to my players. Maybe I think of things, I close my eyes, and I'm like, this place is full of water. There's maybe algae or some sort of plant matter that's growing on the walls and on the pillars. They're gonna smell that. How do you describe that? What do the plants smell like? Describe that. And once you do that, that's how you immerse your players into the game. If you're just describing, you open the door, this is how big the room is, it's 30 by 60 feet, or however, whatever your situation is. And then you say, and there's a treasure chest on the far, there's a treasure chest over there, there's some pillars, what do you want to do? That's not evocative, but if you take a moment to just think about what it would be like to be in that space and describe it to your players, I think you get players being a little bit more immersed in the situation. The other advantage to that is that you can then also have things that surprise players, because if you focus on describing one thing, maybe you describe that there's a treasure chest on the other side of the room, the players will forget to look to see if there's maybe a monster overhead, or monsters hiding to the sides of the door or something. They'll step right in and the monsters will jump out at them or drop on them. There's all kinds of little tools like that that you can use. But the main thing as a beginning dungeon master, as far as I'm concerned, is to learn to see the spaces that you're presenting to your players. Whether it's the underworld or you're in a forest, you describe, you just pause for a second, and your players have to wait for you to get done visualizing, and then you say, okay, this is what's going on. You're coming down a path and the forest opens up before you into this sunny, grassy area, and in the middle of that area is a pile of rocks, and there's what looks like some sort of shrine or something, like some pillars with a roof, but it's a little broken down. What do you want to do? Like, that already evokes feeling, and then they're going to describe what they want to do, and you might add more details, and you just build on that sort of Imagineering part of the dungeon master job. And if you do that, what you do is a couple things. You immerse your players into the experience. It's gonna be a lot like reading a book for them, but you also buy time for yourself to just pause and think about what's going on, because you're having to do a lot of other things on the side that they aren't aware of. Record keeping, maybe just if you're running a module, just reading ahead to see what they're going to run into in this part of the dungeon, things like that. And it's easy to get overwhelmed, and I think the most important thing is just to relax. I guess that's what the main lesson here is, to relax and turn your dungeon mastering experience almost into like a meditation. You're just, I'm going to just do this thing. It's going to be good. Just hang on while I close my eyes and think of what this is like. Okay, this is where you are. So hopefully that's a useful tool you can use when you're running your own adventures to make it feel a little bit more real for your players. All the other stuff, I could go into that. I could spend hours telling you what you need to do to prepare to be a new dungeon master. But really, just relax, take time. If you feel panicked for any reason, just say like, hey, I need to take a minute. I just need a minute. I need to look something up. And if you just let your players communicate to your players what your needs are, because you have needs too. I need, sometimes all the players, I had this happen last weekend. All the players, we were in a situation and all the players were shouting what they wanted to do at me. And I had to stop them and say, okay, here's how we're going to do this. You guys, I'm going to tell you the situation. You guys talk amongst yourselves and come up with a plan. And then when you come up with a plan, one of you can tell me what's going on and what the party is going to do. And that makes things more organized so that I don't have to sit there and deal with all this cluttered, so-and-so's climbing the wall over there, so-and-so's doing this thing over there. I just get a really organized, as the thief is doing this, so-and-so is going to do this sort of description. So yeah, I think it's just relax. You're a new DM. You can't screw it up. People are there to game and have fun. They're not there to be mean to the DM. They want you to succeed, because if you succeed, they succeed in having a wonderful time. And it's a real team effort. That's what role-playing is about, is the Dungeon Master and the players are a team. You can't do the game without the Dungeon Master. You can't do the game without the players. We're together in this. So that's pretty much it. I'll see you next time here on this show. Make sure to click that like button. We got the subscribe button. I'll probably mention some things during the end credits about checking our website store for other cool things.